Boker Tov, good morning. I am Senior Rabbi Michael Beals of Congregation Beth Shalom, presenting for The Rabbi Speaks. The Jewish religion prizes shalom, peace, among its most treasured values. 2,000 years ago, the founding rabbis who lived in the Galilee region of ancient Israel organized each of our prayers to end with a prayer for peace. Today, so many years later, our liturgy still ends with these words, Oseh Shalom Bimromav. May the one who makes peace on high, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom. May God also make peace, Aleinu, on us, Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel, and all who dwell on earth, Ve'imiru, and let us say, Amen. Therefore, it can come of no surprise that my heart and all my Jewish brothers and sisters' hearts break for the 1,400 Israeli citizens who were butchered by Hamas, the 240 kidnapped hostages, some old grandmothers, others little children and babies, who are being held far below ground and held like Hamas tunnels, and the thousands upon thousands of innocent Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, who are also being held as quasi-hostages by Hamas with no one to redeem them. In the Hebrew Bible, in the Torah, we are taught in the story of Genesis that human beings were created b'tselem Elohim, in the image of God. That means when one Israeli or Palestinian is killed, it is as if some of God's divine presence is snuffed out of this world, and our world is a little less holy. It infuriates me that Hamas launches its missiles and stores its weapons in mosques, schools, and hospitals, using ordinary Palestinian citizens as human shields. And Hamas's tunnel networks are under the most densely populated parts of the Gaza Strip, ensuring that Israeli efforts to defend their country will result in the maximum number of civilian deaths, thus discrediting and delegitimizing Israel. It is no wonder that Hamas acts the way it does. In the story of Noah and the flood, which we recently read in synagogue, God despairs of ever having created humanity because there's so much Hamas in the world. Yes, Hamas, although an Arabic acronym for the terrorist organization which rules the Gaza Strip with an iron fist, it is also the ancient biblical Hebrew word for pure, unmitigated violence. It is because of this Hamas that God resolves to destroy the world by flood and start all over again. It cannot be mere coincidence that an organization vowed to commit genocide by erasing Israel off the map of the world chose to name itself for the biblical Hebrew word for horrific violence. For those who would demand Israel to stop the occupation, they forget that in 2005, under the leadership of the then hawkish Prime Minister Ariel Sharon, Israel did in fact pull out of the Gaza Strip. They left behind beautiful kibbutzim, collective farms, hothouses for agriculture, lovely beachfront properties, everything the Palestinians could have used to build a healthy economy. And Israel left the running of the Gaza Strip in the hands of the Palestinian Authority, with whom Israel had signed the Oslo Peace Accords. What the media irresponsibly forgets to recount is that Hamas mounted a bloody coup d'etat against the Palestinian Authority leaders, butchering them, beheading them, because this is their way. Then Hamas destroyed everything Israel had left for the Palestinian Gazans because it was seen as corrupted by polluted Zionist hands. Since 2005, what has followed the Israeli pullout from Gaza has been an onslaught of missiles and 5, yes, count them, 5 bloody wars instigated by Hamas against Israel. Without this historical context, Israel's current determination to neutralize Hamas at any cost would seem brutal. But this is the 5th, and by far the worst war that Israel's weathered. And Hamas's reason for being is the genocidal destruction of Israel because Hamas hates all Jews. Their view of those different from themselves is positively medieval, and so is their method of butchering civilians in cold blood, even fellow Palestinians. The rise in anti-Semitic demonstrations and attacks on synagogues in Europe and the horrible use of anti-Semitic incidents in far-left college campuses right here in America goes right back to the Bible itself. 3,200 years ago, an ancient pharaoh sat on his throne, and he saw the progeny of Jacob growing in the land of Goshen. And he worried that, In time of war, perhaps the ancient Hebrews might form a fifth column and side with Egypt's imagined enemies. So he enslaved them, and then he ordered their male babies to be killed. What exactly had the Hebrews done to deserve this fate? Nothing. What have American Jewish students on campuses like Cornell, Columbia, and Kent State done to earn death threats and harassment? Nothing. How does harming Jews on college campuses help Palestinians in Gaza? It does nothing to help them. Rather, the idea of blaming the Jews has its roots in ancient church charges of deicide, and that would lead in time to blood libels and charges of poisoning wells during the Black Plague, and then there would be the Crusades, and then there would be pogroms, and finally, when anti-Semitism morphed from hating the Jewish religion to hating the Jewish race, there would be the Holocaust, where Adolf Hitler blamed the Jews for everything going wrong in post-War I Germany. He blamed the Jews for both the excesses of capitalism and the excesses of communism. Jews were deemed the inferior race. That led to the final solution. Jews paid for Hitler's genocidal madness with 6 million Jewish lives. Had there been a state of Israel to grant haven to Europe's Jewish communities, many millions might have been saved. So there had to be a return to the land of Israel, the land first promised to God to Abraham in the Bible, so that after 20 centuries of wandering as vulnerable guests in the lands of others, the Jews would finally once again have a home of their own. After multiple attempts to divide the British Mandate Palestine among its Jewish and Arab inhabitants, all rejected by the Arabs, finally, on May 14, 1948, the Jewish inhabitants declared their own homeland in the portion assigned by the United Nations to them in a historic vote on the 29th day of November, 1947. Subsequently, the Arab armies of Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, along with Palestinian Arabs, all joined forces with the intent of committing genocide, pushing the Jews into the sea, a second Holocaust. They, thank God, did not succeed. Miraculously, Israel survived the Arab onslaught, and it expanded to take over the areas assigned both to the Jewish and Arab inhabitants of Palestine, and so began the beginning of the ongoing Palestinian refugee tragedy, which they call the Nakba. I pray that the Israeli forces will be able to quickly and efficiently bring home all 240 hostages, including Americans, and free the Palestinian Gazans from their Hamas oppressors with as little harm to any more innocent Palestinian Gazans as possible. There's already been far, far, far too much death. Then, with the help of the international community, I pray for the establishment of a prosperous, peaceful, democratic Palestinian state living side by side in dignity with the Jewish democratic state of Israel. The fulfillment of the prayer, Usei Shalom Bimromav, Hu Ya'asei Shalom, Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imiru, and let us say, Amen. Todah. Thank you. This has been Senior Rabbi Michael Beals of Congregation Beth Shalom, presenting for the Rabbi Speaks.